All right, today we're diving into one of those images from ancient Egypt that once you see it, you just can't unsee it. It seems to completely rewrite history as we know it. So let's get ready to decode the famous Abydos helicopter. Okay, so here it is. Just take a look. I mean, at first glance, it's just baffling. Carved into the wall of a 3,000-year-old temple, and what do you see? Well, it looks exactly like a modern helicopter. Some people even say they see a submarine and other futuristic aircraft right there next to it. So the question is, how on earth could ancient Egyptians have carved this?
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? Is this actual proof of some kind of advanced ancient technology? Maybe even evidence of visitors from another world? Or could there be a much more down-to-earth explanation that's honestly just as cool? Let's find out. First things first, let's really get a handle on what the claim is, because proponents of this idea argue that this isn't just some random doodle. They see an entire fleet of highly advanced vehicles right there in the stone. This idea is a real cornerstone of the whole ancient astronaut theory. The thinking goes like this. These aren't just squiggles. They are detailed representations of machines. And since the ancient Egyptians obviously couldn't have built these things themselves, they must have seen them. They had to have been drawing something that they saw with their own eyes. And you know, context is absolutely everything here. This carving isn't tucked away in some secret hidden tomb. Nope, it's high up on a massive stone beam in a very public part of the temple of Seti I, who was a major pharaoh. So this was meant to be seen, which begs the question, what did the people who carved it actually want us to see? Well, according to Egyptologists, the answer isn't some kind of secret code. It all comes down to a single, really interesting word that describes a surprisingly common practice from the ancient world. And this is so important to grasp. What we're looking at isn't a cover-up or a conspiracy. It's actually the ancient equivalent of just standard procedure for scribes and builders. To really understand the helicopter, you have to understand how they worked. And here is that word palimpsest. A palimpsest is basically any writing surface that's been used more than once. Just imagine you write something on a piece of paper, then try to erase it so you can write something new over the top. You can still kind of see the faint marks of the old writing underneath, right? That's a palimpsest. And it happened all the time. The name itself literally tells you what's going on. Palimpestastos is Greek, and it just means scraped again. See, before paper was cheap and easy to get, things like stone or papyrus were super valuable, so you didn't just throw them away, you reused them. And this carving at Abydos, it's just a stone version of that exact same idea. Now, to get what's going on with this specific palimpsest, we need to meet the two main players in our story, a father and a son. Both of them incredibly powerful pharaohs who literally left their mark on the exact same spot. So first up, you have Pharaoh Seti I. He's the one who got the ball rolling on this amazing temple. Then comes his son, who takes over after him, the legendary Ramses II, maybe better known as Ramses the Great. When Seti died, it was Ramses' job to finish decorating the temple. And here is the absolute key detail. Ramses the Great, well, he had a bit of a habit. He built a ton of stuff himself, but he was also famous for updating his dad's monuments. He'd have his workers put a layer of plaster over Seti's names and titles and then carve his own right on top. Now you gotta understand, this wasn't seen as vandalism back then. It was his way of honoring his father by finishing the project while also, making sure everyone knew who was boss now. And this wasn't a one-time thing. We have cold, hard proof of this practice from other temples all over Egypt. I mean, look here. You can clearly see this oval shape, a cartouche, with Seti I's name. And right below it, you can see where that same spot was filled in with plaster and then recarved with his son Ramesses' name. This happened all the time. The carving at Abydos is nothing special in that regard. Okay, so we've got the context. We know the who, the where, and the why. Now for the how. This is the part where the illusion completely falls apart and we get that aha moment where you see how two totally normal inscriptions accidentally created something that looks, well, out of this world. So layer 1. This was carved for Seti I. It's one of his official royal titles, and it reads something like, "Who repulses the 9 bows." That was just a standard, fancy way of saying the one who defeats the enemies of Egypt. Nothing mysterious here, just your typical pharaoh bragging. Then along comes layer 2. Ramesses II's workers slap some plaster over the original and carve his royal title on top. His had a very similar meaning, who protects Egypt and overthrows foreign countries, but it used different hieroglyphic symbols. Again, totally, completely normal stuff. And this right here is the key. When you actually see the two inscriptions separately, it all clicks into place. On the left, you've got Seti's title. On the right, Ramesses on their own. They are perfectly normal, standard issue royal titles that you'd find on monuments all over the country. They make perfect sense. So, what happened? How did we get a helicopter out of all that? Well, the answer is simple: time. Over 3,000 years, the plaster that Ramesses' workers used just eroded. It got brittle, it crumbled, and it fell away. And when it did, it exposed little bits and pieces of his dad's original carving underneath, blending them with the newer carving that was on top. The result is just this accidental, overlapping mashup of shapes. So when you put all the pieces together, the conclusion is actually pretty straightforward. This isn't a message from the future. It's not a blueprint from another world. It's a message from the past that just got a little scrambled by time. An Egyptologist named Joshua Aaron Robertson really put it perfectly with this quote. The shapes we're seeing are a trick of something called pareidolia. It's just a term for our brain's natural tendency to find familiar patterns in random shapes. It's the exact same reason we see animals or faces in the clouds. So let's just quickly run through the whole story one last time. It's a palimpsest. A father's carving gets covered up by his son's. Thousands of years go by, the plaster falls off, and that mixes the two texts together. The end result? An accidental jumble of shapes that are modernized with our modern knowledge, see as helicopters and airplanes. It's an incredible coincidence, but that's all it is. And that leaves us with a pretty cool final thought. The Abydos helicopter is such a great reminder that sometimes the most amazing story isn't about aliens or lost technology. It's about the fascinating and, yeah, often messy process of history itself. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other great mysteries are out there that are just waiting to be understood, not as puzzles, but simply as stories from our past that we've misunderstood?